this, right? And he was predicting the Charizard to come out. Instead, we're going to be seeing Gardevoir coming from
GameProdigy. And SquidBuster is opting for Lucario this time.
That's really interesting to me. I saw in the winner's semis, he actually got here using Chandelure.
I've actually spent a little bit of time whenever I first started doing this, so like, who do I want to play? And I kind of started playing Gardevoir, and that was all right. But one thing I figured out quickly is that Lucario does kind of shut Gardevoir down.
Yeah. Elaborate.
So the first thing is that a lot of Gardevoir's moves they have startup to them, and not only that, but a lot of her really strong moves come from the air, and that is two things that Lucario excels at. He's able to get in just not as fast as Weavile, but he's able to get in, and then he has really effective anti-airs.
Well, he wasn't able to get in at all in that game. I think you were expecting maybe because Gardevoir suffers sometimes at a mid-screen sort of distance that we'd be seeing a lot of Bone Rush and options like that coming out from SquidBuster.
But ultimately, like, GameProdigy, really good awareness and just like pushed him out of that mid-zone, got him to the back of the screen, and then just proceeded to just zone him out with what Gardevoir does. Oh, that energy release is going to be such a good bit of damage.
And now we're going to be seeing SquidBuster actually use Burst, and GameProd retorts with a burst of his own, so now we have a burst standoff of sorts. Oh, going for the grab! Oh, I thought he was going for the grab at that very moment, but he just dropped shield for a second and baited SquidBuster into going for the burst option.
Ooh, is that... That's... I don't believe this is going to take the round, but it's going to put him pretty close to it.
Yeah, that Fairy Tempest.
Pretty strong. Lays him down to below 50 HP.
And Molga will be dished out. I don't know how much that speed decrease will really do. It might make it so GameProd would have a harder time getting some of that separation that he needed, but the thing that made him win that round was how comfortable he was at switching up whether he was going to be playing projectile-oriented or close to face.
Yes. That's one thing that he actually did pretty well against me whenever we played last week, is because Braixen, my own Braixen still isn't like quite there yet. I'm still learning quite a bit. He was really effective at being able to mix up the long range attacks and then to come in and use physical attacks and just kind of shut down every once in a while.
Now this was what I was expecting from SquidBuster. It's what got him to winners finals, the Chandelure that we've come to fear.
Yes. I saw this on the way here. It's like, oh my god.
It's kind of scary.
Well, Chandelure, in and of him or herself, is pretty scary because like they have a really good array of long-range projectiles.
Yeah, if there's anything to contest with some of the zoning options that we've seen from GameProd, especially in the field phase, it's going to be Chandelure. I mean, the Will-O-Wisps are options that you can't just counterattack through, and that laser, I mean, just look at the damage from that single opening.
And this is just going to turn into a long-range battle, which I do kind of feel that Chandelure does have the upper hand there.
Yeah,
because he's just going to shoot there firing his laser over and over again.
And you're already noticing, like, Chandelure, because it's such a power-oriented character, will be coming out on top significantly greater for every single win as far as projectile pressure goes. SquidBuster.
Ooh, another beam coming through.
And you're noticing, it's like he's trying to use Calm Mind into a projectile, and while he does get the trade, you usually don't want to trade with Chandelure. Either way, though, maintaining a slightly...
Oh, that was such a good burst!
It allows him to avoid the laser, and now he's going to be putting on the pressure as well as recovering some HP. Such a critical burst option for GameProdigy. SquidBuster, only 2...
That was so down to the wire.
It was the magical leaves. The fact that it traveled so slowly was why he was able to come out on top, because SquidBuster thought he saw a moment where he could start getting in some ranged attacks. But again, they just travel so slowly, they kind of linger for a moment, and if you're not cautious, especially whenever your opponent is in burst, you're going to be getting clipped. SquidBuster does...
good stored power release.
Now, SquidBuster does have his Synergy Burst available, and he's just going to go right into it. One thing that I haven't seen from him, actually, is Hex. And that could just be because in Duel, they're going for a full-screen battle of sorts.
Ooh, that was a very good set of projectiles. That's going to get him the phase shift. Ooh, but he's going for that laser. I wouldn't say like super predictably, but he's doing it with enough knowledge that GameProdigy can just fully be able to come up and just let Moonblast rip. And it just like completely countered his ground laser.
Oh, scary distance. GameProd has to be careful though. He might be trying to bait out a Hex at this very moment. There was the Hex, like I mentioned before. GameProd had the right idea, jumping up to avoid, but doesn't get the punish. Oh,
that's gonna be round 2.
That's what I was talking about. We wanted to see Hex because that command grab option just has so much length to it. SquidBuster stealing that round away from GP and maybe giving himself a shot at putting a game on the board for himself. Phase shift will be incurred. First opening going in favor of GP. And actually going for the burst as well. This is really interesting.
This is
going right to face, but overheat! And that's a critical attack as well. And you're going to be
that was humongous damage.
And you're going to be seeing the Espeon because it takes away any of the debuffs that a Chandelure incurs whenever they go for that overheat option. So now he basically has overheat on the table again. Beyond that, it also shut off all of the potential options that GameProd had with Burst. You'll remember that he used Burst at the very beginning of the match. And so now going into this, even though you see GP with a slight health lead, I'd say that he's down as far as the round actually goes. Now pinned in the corner, Hex comes out, and that was such a great mix-up as well. He goes for 2 lasers to start with, conditions GP into the shield, and then gets the free Hex afterwards.
He's going to use Evital. Let's see, is it going to connect? It is.
And that's a massive
huge
amount of damage.
Oh, the grab is that. That is it.
What a magnificent comeback from GP. I looked at that game, I looked at that round, and I said, okay, this is when SquidBuster comes out on top. And GP said, no, I was waiting so patiently, it's my turn to play. He had that Evoltol fully prepped, ready to go, and the second that we saw SquidBuster go for an aggressive option, he decides, no, you're done.
Dunskies, and that's game 1. This is 3 out of 5, if I remember correctly. Yes, getting the nod of the head from our stream runner. This is going to be 3 out of 5. So, where do you think? What do you think? What direction do you feel SquidBuster's going to take this now? You feel he's going to continue to just like shoot out beams, continue to zone him out, and eventually get that Hex in?
I mean, it's what he has to do, in particular against, Gardevoir. I mean, at the end of the day, he's Chandelure, right? He's got to be playing this zone-oriented style of play because that's just what the archetype really works out to. What he needs to do, though, is pick his opportunities as to when to actually shoot the beam a bit better, right? You're seeing him going a bit blind at times. It's almost like he's autopiloting when he chooses to go for the beam, and that's letting GameProd get the lingering hits of the magical leaves to tack on that extra bit of damage.
Yeah, and we're seeing that happen quite a bit. Guard break, and he's going to throw in Latios and see if he can... Ooh, but the Hex is going to override that. They're going to go back to field... Well, no, they're actually not going to go back to field phase.
Yeah, he didn't build up enough phase shift points. But there's a phase shift that he was waiting for. 1 HP left for SquidBuster. He's going to need a miracle to make it back. Going for Espeon early, this won't...
That's going to give him quite a bit of help, but
the one downside is that he doesn't get overheat for free at this point.
Ooh,
catching him on the way down. 4 health remaining for GameProdigy. He needs to make a big play, and
that it is!
Actually surprising everyone there. Generally speaking, where we see a lot of Gardevoirs start to fall is whenever they're playing at sort of mid-screen sort of distance. But somehow he was able to just put on enough pressure where he was able to come out on top with that.
He had the awareness to know that he had stored power, and then he used that whenever he used the anti-air option to take that game.
Clean play. Ooh, gonna be breaking the zone with the laser. And getting the Hex on top of that.
Ooh.
I don't think it's gonna shift the phase. So he
no, right at the beginning, that's not gonna.
Yeah.
That's not gonna shift it quite yet.
So he still has some time to start,
Ooh, try to go for the anti-air. He doesn't quite get it. Oh, he jumps and he ends up getting punished for it.
Now, if he wants to keep him, oh wow. So GameProd, he goes for
He's gonna go ahead and throw out.
The only issue with going for the burst option at that particular point is he got stuck into this field, into this dual phase. The way that phases kind of work is there's a certain amount of phase points that you build up based on what hits you connect in duel, right? Whereas in field, you only get shifts based on when certain attacks hit, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is whenever you use the option to go into burst, you reset those phase points, right? So even though it's really close to creating a phase shift from duel into field, he uses the phase shift, and by doing so, it makes it so he's back at square one, and he has to make sure that he gets these next openings if he wants to make it so it goes into the field phase. The more you know. That shield looking really low for SquidBuster, and GameProd is going to be taking advantage. Latios comes out, but we're going to be seeing the Espeon as well. Nowhere to run for SquidBuster. That shield is looking like
keep him in there, and he's going to get bounced.
Man, that shield was looking like a Skittle at that point. GameProd so aggressive.
That homing attack, and he takes that with only like a little bit of damage.
Yeah.